Hi, everybody. I see a bunch of you are on here already. Hi, Marta. Hi, Kathy. Hey, guys. I'm here at the shop. Jacksonville. Hey, Jesse. So glad you can tune in this time. I feel like everybody's kind of like coming down from summer, getting ready to end. People getting back to work, kids back to school. But let's see what y'all have come today with any questions. Hi, Margie. Margie, you got to give us that recipe for the homemade starch that you use, because every time somebody asks me or mentions starch, I instantly think of Margie. I'm like, Margie makes her own using vodka. I need to find a good recipe. Well, I'm sure there's a bunch because I feel like I've seen them before on Google and stuff. I just have never tried to make it. So if you have a link to one, oh, she says, sure, awesome. Yeah, just let us know. Jennifer says her parents are heading down to Gainesville next week. She hopes she can get them to come to stop into the shop. Awesome. Yeah, I had a lady today come from New York State. She says she was visiting a friend of hers in Ocala, and then they made the drive up here. So that was kind of cool. Another girl came from Orlando. People are always dropping by from other places, which is fun. I always just assume when they walk in the door that they're local until they start talking and telling me like, oh, I'm here from Tennessee or something. Hi, Sue. Oh, Margie says it's just 1 part vodka and 2 parts distilled water. Girl, that's it? Vodka and distilled water, huh? And there's enough starch in the vodka to work. Interesting. Anybody else have a go at making their own starch for their fabric? Prudence says, I want to make a quilt with the block of the weeks. About how much background fabric will I need? To work that out exactly, I would have to run some numbers on the software. But looking at what they look like, I would say if you had like 2.5 yards, you'd have plenty for background fabric. Flor de Linda says just add cranberry juice. We'll need to add cranberry juice to that vodka and water mix. Oh, and Margie says that if you do it like that, it's not as heavy as the canned starch. Cool. Oh, Liz Sawyer says that she makes her own with vodka too. Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to try that. I don't have any vodka in my house, but I'm sure I can pick up a bottle of some cheap stuff somewhere. Awesome. I was so proud to see. Let me grab the block. It's down here hidden. The Rolling Squares one, that was the latest one that so many of you actually gave it a go and tried it. 33 Patrick pieces in 1 block is not for the faint of heart. I mean, it's not super duper difficult, but it just is a lot. So I'm glad to see that everybody is, not everybody, but you know, people are tackling these blocks. Several of you are actually keeping up to date with the blocks of the week. I know some of you had mentioned that you really like these ones because they make you focus a little bit more. I think I'm going to design a quilt featuring this. This is so fun, isn't it? It's like bold, kind of modern, kind of funky, still has a traditional feel to it with the flying geese. So Jesse says you made it look easy. That's my job, right? To encourage you by making it look like this is nothing. Just throw this together. Except when I'm sewing live on camera. Then there's no glossing it over. If it's messed up, it's like, oh, look at that. I missed the point. But yeah, this is a fun little block. And I like working on 1 block at a time because a lot of us don't have hours and hours of uninterrupted time to just go ahead and sew. So if you break it up where one day you cut out your pieces and you have this little stack of patchwork fabric, and the next day you sew a couple units together, and especially something like this, that when you look at it at first glance, it's like, whoa, I don't know if I can tackle that. But I break it down for you in the video and show you that it's just a 9 patch, right? It's the same corner blocks, and then like these 4 corners, and then the ones in the middle and on the sides are the same block. So you're just repeating it. You know, you're doing the same thing over and over. Janet says you did great at the 2 Friday live talks. Oh, thank you. So for those of you that don't know, maybe we'll tune in here and kind of just give you a heads up. We've been doing these live chat things on Friday evenings on the main Facebook page, just on like facebook.com/craftygemini. So just on the main Crafty Gemini page. And they're like flash sale Friday. So we offer at a sale price with free shipping in the US, a little bundle of fabric, you know, fat quarters, a zipper, whatever it is. And then I demo a little project. The first time I spun a wheel and challenged myself to make something with whatever the wheel landed on, telling me different products I had to incorporate. And then this past Friday, I made a zipper pouch. And so whoever got in on the bundle got like a PDF, not a PDF, but the printout instructions of a little zipper pouch that I call the go-to zipper pouch. And we sold out in less than 15 minutes. I actually had a lady come in today and say that she caught the live chat late and she missed out on the bundle, but she wanted to see if I had more of they're called like church kitchen ladies fabric print. And so we had some yardage left here that I could sell her today. So those have been kind of fun, just something different. I got to pop on and I'm there. I have my sewing machine, the ironing board, a cutting mat. And so I'm working on something. Janice says she just likes that wheel. Oh, me. Yeah, it was super fun. I like to spin the wheel and see what it's going to land on. It's fun. And so we did giveaways like that. We did 3 giveaways where I spun the wheel. My assistant picked a random name that was coming in through the comments. We spun the wheel and then whatever it landed on, they got to choose that prize or one of the sample zipper pouches that I had made. So that was kind of fun. So if that's something that you're into, I sent out an email with it to like my whole newsletter list. But if you're on the main Facebook page, you can tune in. I will let you know that this coming Friday at 7 p.m. again, we'll have another one. Then the Friday after that, we won't because I have a retreat that weekend. But we're going to do another fun one next Friday. And we're trying to put together more bundles so that we don't sell out quite as fast, but still a lot of fun. All right, so who loved this block and who hated it? Super duper cute. This was a lot of fun. I like making this one. And I only did, you see how these outside squares in the 4 outer corners are the same yellow as the interior? Imagine if you made this scrappy. As long as the background fabric was something kind of light in the color value world and everything else was enough of a contrast, I mean, you could end up with some gorgeous, gorgeous blocks. And if you just made a quilt, what I call a solo block quilt, meaning the same block over and over again, featuring random scraps, I mean, come on, that would look super cute. And then for those of you that free motion quilt or have a long arm, you can do all kinds of cool custom quilting in these solid spaces because they're not so small like they are on the triangle tips here of the flying geese. This is a good chunk, and that center square is a nice piece there for you to do some custom quilting in if you wanted to. Okay? Liz says that she enjoyed the block. It came out gorgeous. If you're not on the Facebook group or you haven't gone in lately, log on and check it on. Liz made hers and the colors pop. The center square, she fussy cut this cute little motif out of her fabric there. It looks so good in those colors. And that's what part of the group is for, right? Sometimes we see fabric combinations and colors and you're like, wow, that looks amazing. I think I have fabrics that look like that in my stash. I would have never thought to do it. You know, it's kind of that whole inspiration vibe too, to inspire you to try something different or, you know, try something outside of the box even for yourself. I'll put this one here. I think it's cool to look at. Getting blown away. Yeah, so I think because with that was what, block number 9? We have 3 left. Mystery block of the week, 10, 11, and 12. I think they're going to be, you know, I have them set up. I always give myself a couple of options to kind of get feedback from y'all. Like if they're too hard, then I can go with the easier one. But I think they're going to be, you know, that level and up for the last 3. I think that's pretty decent. What do y'all think? All right. And we're going to do some giveaways today for sure. I was like, I haven't been getting a lot of questions from people since we're kind of in between like those first 2 projects that we featured and then moving into the next one. So give this a little break, you know, give yourself a little break if you have been keeping up. If you haven't been keeping up, it's not a big deal, right? All the videos are always there for you. And get ready because the next project is the improvisational curves. It's super fun, super duper fun. So that's going to be awesome for the video lessons on that. And then what is after that? I think it's just putting all the stuff together. I'm going to share with you my method there for putting blocks together to create an entire quilt top without having to get up from the sewing machine. So I put everything on the design wall and I take it all with me to sew. So if you're someone who makes a lot of quilts It's sometimes tricky at the beginning to get the technique down, like you can't really remember it, but I'm gonna share with you how to do it labeled so that once you see it labeled, you see how it sticks in your head, okay? Audrey says, I'm embarrassed to admit that I haven't made any of the blocks yet. No big deal, right? That's the beauty of video. Even me, I go back and watch some of my tutorials when I haven't done something in 8 years and I can't remember what I did. Girl, no embarrassment. The videos are there for you to access whenever you want to, right? Whenever you want to, just log back in and they'll be there for you. Yep, Vicky says, that's what I like about your classes. They're always there for me. And Jessie says she's looking forward to the curves. I think it's gonna be fun. And just start off with, with your scrap fabrics, just so you can kind of get the technique down and get a handle on it. Anytime, I feel like I have some batting fluff in my eye. Anytime you try something new, it's not just about wrapping your head around whatever the technique is, it's your hands too. For a craft like this that's so tactile, it's all in how you're holding the fabric, manipulating it, putting it through the machine, and your brain has to learn that it's something new and different that you haven't done before, okay? All right, so that is that. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know some of you have been whipping up quilt tops. Barbara says she's looking for ideas for a quilt guild challenge. Any ideas? What do you mean? Is it that your whole guild is trying to come up with a challenge? I'll tell you, one of the projects that we're working on with our local modern quilt guild is that we're doing a plus block swap. So everybody is making 32 blocks, 30 for their own selves, and 2 additional ones that each person's gonna make, and then we're gonna put those together and make a charity quilt to give to Habitat for Humanity for the homeowners of the new house that's being built for them. And then the other 30 blocks, they're bringing them next week to our August meeting, and you can contribute as many blocks as you want to swap. So if I made 30 blocks, I can swap 12 of them. That means I'm gonna take 12 of mine, put them into the mix, and then somebody's gonna gather them all up and start handing them back out. So you're gonna end up with different blocks that other people in the guild made. So you have a good scrappy variety in your quilt. And so we had, the rules. The background had to be low volume, and then the center had to be a bold, mostly solid color. And then we're gonna swap. So everybody's gonna end up with the same blocks, but it's all from different fabrics, from people's stash and other stuff that people, bought to make those blocks. So that's cool. Hi, Tony. She says it's her first time on chat. Welcome. Let's see. I have the confetti block quilt top done in 20 of the 12-inch blocks for my first daughter. Awesome. She says this will be my first ever quilt that she's ever made. I gave my second daughter the choice of what she wanted, a twin size of the second. I have an inexpensive sewing machine. Will I be able to quilt the size of that one? So the quilting part, whether or not you're able to do it on a domestic machine, also depends not just on the size of the finished quilt, but also on how much quilting you're planning to do. If you have a twin size quilt and you have a machine that's just a domestic home sewing machine with a 3/4 throat space, you're not gonna be able, let me not say you're not going to be able to. It's not gonna be easy to do a lot of custom free motion quilting on that, okay? But you will be able to still incorporate some of the quilting techniques that I'm gonna show you in this class. That doesn't mean that you can't, right? There are quickie, easy ways to finish a quilt and still have it quilted. You can tie a quilt. People do that even with yarn. You just take a couple tacks in it and tie it off, and you have the yarn exposed on the top. That's a way of quilting. Straight line quilting with a walking foot. You can do a lot of different things. But again, if you're trying to go different angles and waves and curls and doing all this kind of fancy stuff, and you're limited on throat space and the machine is not heavy duty and is not really made for that, then you're gonna have a heck of a time trying to get that type of quilting done on that quilt. But there are so many options when it comes to finishing those 3 layers, right? The quilt sandwich layers, that you'll be able to do it one way or the other, okay? But a lot of people think that they can just jump into free motion quilting. Free motion quilting on a sit-down machine takes thousands of hours of practice to feel confident and really good. Thousands. You have to have a quilt sandwich going all the time because you're training your brain to think a totally different way. It's not easy. It's a lot easier, I think, to jump on a long arm and use a long arm quilting machine to quilt your stuff. Because if you think about it like writing, we learn to write with a pen or pencil in our hand, right? And you have a sheet of paper. The pen or pencil and you're writing like this is already easier for most of us to wrap our head around because we've been writing most of our lives. So this with a stationary sheet of paper and you moving your hand to write is what the long arm machine is. The quilt is rolled between two rollers. It's stationary and you are guiding the machine doodling on top. So imagine the quilt is paper and the sewing machine needle is the pen, okay? That's why I think it's easier to do it on the long arm. When you're transferring that to the other way of quilting on a sit down machine, now you are moving the quilt while the machine is stationary. So if you translate that in your head to paper and pencil scenario, now you are moving the paper while someone is holding a pen. So imagine somebody holds a pen and you have to move the sheet underneath it and I tell you, write your name. It's a lot harder because you have to go backwards, right? If I want the line to come this way, I'm not gonna pull this way. I have to push away from me so that it draws this way. So you're thinking backwards, okay? And a lot of times people will try it. They have just a horrible time and they think, oh, I must be dumb. It must be me. I can't do it. You have to think about it like that. You're trying to write or draw, moving the paper while somebody is holding a pen flat onto the sheet of paper. That is not easy, okay? Not easy at all to train your brain that way. Granted, some people take to it a lot easier than others, but it's still, think about that scenario. You're moving the paper while the pen is stationary. I mean, and I can do it, but I prefer long arm because I was always a doodler as a kid. So if you were a doodler, I mean, that's all you're going to do. You're like, do, 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 and it's just a lot more enjoyable. All right. So Jen is asking, have you done any quilts as you go? Are you asking me or somebody else? Because I have done plenty of quilts as you go, which is another great technique to do. It's just a different technique, and so I didn't incorporate it in this quilt club, but I do have tutorials on quilt as you go projects. Candy says she has the road, I guess she's saying the paved road quilt top done using the 9-inch blocks. That's cute. And she says, how would it look with a small border? I think borders really help accentuate, you know, what the inside of the quilt design is, like the blocks and things. I'm not a huge fan of borders just because I'm like, I just want to get this done. And if I need to make it bigger, sometimes people will add borders, not just for the design element, but they're just like, it's a little short. Let me add a border, right? To make it a little bit bigger and longer. And I usually think about that ahead of time. So I'll make the blocks bigger so I don't have to go back and add a border. But borders are great. I mean, the binding serves as a border too, right? It's this thin outline that helps frame out the quilt design. So for sure, I think especially with 9-inch blocks, that design is really going to carry as you have all those little cornerstones going across like that. I think a border would look great on that quilt. Deborah says, do you have a video on how to read the marks on the rulers between the inches? So I have covered this before. Can anybody remember off the top of their head what video it would be in? Where I cover like 1/8, 2/8, which is a quarter, 3/8, 4/8, which breaks down into half. I know I cover that. I cover that in one of the videos in this course. I think check one of the first ones, like the first mystery block of the week ones. Check if I covered them there, because I know at the beginning when I usually start off, before we get into those measurements, I'll hold up a close-up of the ruler and show like what these 1/8 increments are. If anybody can remember which video they saw that in, leave us a comment here so we can share that info with her. All right. Okay, that's that. Let me see, because I saw that I missed some couple questions here. Jesse's asking how to cut fabric. Is it on the hot? It might be, yeah, it might be on the video, like at the beginning, the main top part of the Quilt Club page, where I have like those tip videos. There's one on how to cut fabric. Check on that one where I show you where to line it up. And I think I go into detail there of those 1/8 inch measurements. Oh, Tanya says she was looking for that video but couldn't find it. But yeah, you're right, Jess, it might be in the how to cut fabric one. All right. I know Vicky says in just about all the videos. I try to. I try to cover those little things, but sometimes I feel like it just gets crazy repetitive. Like I'm just like, okay, you did that in the last video. Okay, here it is again. Barbara says the recent how to cut fabric is very helpful. Good, I'm glad to help. And on that one, I shared tips for left-handed cutters also, which I know gets left out a lot. And so I show you how to use my 2 ruler cutting technique swapped for left-handed people. All right. Hi, Sally. All right, good deal, good deal. Let me know if you guys have any questions for me. Give me a second. Somebody here on the group couldn't get in. All right. Joy's asking, will you be covering different ways to do the back of the quilt? What do you mean by different ways? We're going to be covering, because you know the backing is typically a large chunk. So I will be covering how to make the backing using typical quilting cottons, meaning 42 to 45 inch wide, which is going to incorporate you, or it's going to require you to piece it no matter what quilting cotton you're making, unless you're making a teensy baby quilt. Most always you'll have to piece your backing together. So I'm going to cover the technique that I use for piecing yardage together to make a quilt top, okay? Or quilt backing. Yeah, so she's asking, right, the piecing part. Yes, so I will cover that when we get to that section of the club, okay? All right. I know Vicky says she loves the 108 inch wide for backing. Wide backs are amazing. It's basically quilting cottons, and I have some here. Let me just grab a bolt so you all can see. So this is a Robert Kaufman print, and it comes on a bolt just like the other quilting fabric, but it's folded 4 times. And if you go to your local quilt shop, ask, hey, do y'all carry, you know, wide backs, 108 inch backs? So you see how it's 2 and 2 and it's folded again the other way? So you get the same yardage, but whatever yardage you buy. So like if you go into a shop or you come in here, let's say my shop, and you get a yard, you're gonna get a piece that measures 36 inches along the lengthwise grain is your yard by 108 inches wide. Isn't it amazing? When you have this, then you don't have to piece, because all you need to do is, okay, say your quilt is 60 by 70 or something like that. You get 1.5 yards, you get 54 inches wide by 108, and it's all in one shot. So you can just layer your batting, your quilt top, you know, rough cut around it, and you have one solid piece for your back. Amazing. So yeah, they're called wide backs or 108 inch wide backing fabric. I know Joyce says 108 would be nice. Let's see. S is saying, I don't see the full name, but it says, you're the first person to teach me how to cut fabric. I love the 2 rulers, but now I can't figure out how to use just one. Well, you'll need to use something else to measure, right? If you're just using one, like some people like to use the gridded lines on their cutting mats. I don't, because I wear mine out, and over time they're not really to scale. And I feel like just from the beginning, I kind of trained my mind to always just go by the rulers, which are perfectly to scale, right? And they're solid acrylic. They don't get warped and stuff like the mats. So that was just my technique. But you can use one ruler and then use like the second ruler as the grid lines on your cutting mats. Now, sometimes I'll do that if I just need to rough cut something, right? If I know I need at least a 12 inch by 15 inch piece, but that's not the actual perfect dimensions I need for the project, then I just put it on the mat and just, you know, rough cut the piece around it. But when I need accuracy for patchwork projects, or I'm cutting the individual pieces to make something, I always use my 2 rulers. I love my 2 rulers. Oh, it's Sue. That's the name. I was like, S, I can't see the full name. Jessie was asking, when do you decide to use the clapper on seams? Is it number of seams or length, or always? Personal preference. For me, if I have it there and I'm at an ironing board that I have it at, everything, boom, 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 boom. It will help if you have a point where it has a lot of intersections, then you want to do it more so in those areas. But any regular old seam, I just press it flat with that. It just makes such a little difference. Let's see, Tanya's saying, when I cut pieces, I think I try to get it too perfect. Is there any room for error built into the cutting? Also, did you make your top? This top I did. This is the Raglan, not Raglan, it's in the Raglan t-shirt pattern. It's the racerback tank top, but it's the one that I made when I showed students how to hack the back and make it a scoop back. So it's not the racerback. I showed students in that online class how to change it from racerback, because some of the ladies were saying, you know, when the racerback goes like this, their bra still shows on the back. So they wanted to change it to just a scoop, just the same way that the front was. So I did make this one. It's a double brushed DBP fabric. And then what else were you asking? Let me see. Oh, is there any cutting room built in, or any room for error built into the cutting? No. Right? It's not like the precision begins at the prep. When you cut that piece to the dimension you need for your project, every step from there on is dependent on you having cut that piece exactly. That's why I tell people, starch the fabric. It's worth it. It helps everything go more precisely from the jump. So when you cut that piece, it should be exact. And then if there is, you know, if it's not exact in the cutting, then you're already affecting your seam allowance. And then we know how that goes. If it's something that has a lot of seams, it's gonna go across seam by seam by seam, and you're gonna be off by that amount times however many seams you're sewing in that row. So set yourself up for success. Starch the fabric nice and crisp, cut as accurately as possible, and then it's a little bit more smoother sailing from then on. Hi, George. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you figured out how to join the chat. Great, great, great. Barbara's asking, what are your thoughts on using a flannel sheet for a backing? I know plenty of people that have used sheets that they buy, stuff that they bought like at Goodwill in big sheets, you know, for really low. I haven't used it, but I have used stuff that's a different weave than the cotton, quilting cotton fabric that I use on the quilt top. So for example, I will often use a lightweight denim, like a 4 to 6 ounce denim for the backings on my quilts when I'm making picnic quilts or beach quilts that we throw on the grass and on the beach, and they really hold up nicely for wear and tear. I'm not gonna add a 10 ounce denim to it, but like a 4 ounce denim is just a little bit sturdier, right? And the texture on it just holds up a little bit better. So I have done that. I've backed quilts before with fleece, and you know that stuff stretches on you. So I've done that too. I've done like a minky backing and quilted those. Now keep in mind, these are all different fabrics that I've used for the backing, but the quilts have been quilted on a long arm quilting frame. So because I'm stabilizing my layers, I don't have stuff shifting on me, right? And I keep it nice and taut so I can quilt, so I don't end up with pleats and puckers. If you're doing it where you're quilting with that different type of a backing fabric on a domestic sewing machine and it stretches, I would not even go there, because unless you can super duper stabilize it, you're moving the quilt itself, and you can really be just distorting the fabric. The stretching it is gonna give, you'll end up with puckers and pleats. So you'll really have to have a really good basting system down to try and do that on a regular sewing machine. Now, what were you asking? You were asking about the flannel. Flannel has a little stretch, but I still feel like it's stable enough that you can tackle a quilt with that. And I have used quilt flannel before, but again, I usually will quilt my quilts on a long arm. I'm trying to think. I think years ago when one of my kids was little, I made a quilt top out of quilting cotton, cotton batting, and then the backing was flannel, and I quilted it on a regular machine with a walking foot, and that was fine. Just make sure, you know, you smooth all your layers out flat, and I'll cover that when we get to those videos on tips for basting and getting your layers to be nice and flat. But I don't see why you would have a problem with quilting cotton. Now, quilting flannel or cotton flannel. One thing though, depends on the quality of the flannel. But flannel in general, I have found it shrinks ridiculously. So make sure that you pre-wash the backing if you are gonna use a cotton flannel. That stuff shrinks a ton. At least the stuff that I bought from Joann's. So definitely keep that in mind, because you don't want, because you're using quilt flannel, like say cotton flannel on the back, you have maybe cotton or polyester batting, and the quilt top is quilting cottons, they're gonna shrink at different rates, and you don't want one to like pull the other. So like if the backing shrinks more than the quilt top, it's gonna take it with it as you have the quilting through it. And that, you know, if it shrinks at different rates, you might end up with something that you're not too happy with. So make sure that you pre-wash it nice and hot water, like get rid of all, you know, whatever shrinkage out of it that you need to, okay? Oh, bye, Margie. She says she has to go. Her husband and her have plans. Awesome. I'm going to have a date night dinner with my husband tonight, too, after I'm done here. The kids are sleeping over a friend's house. And I was like, good. Take them. Don't give me a good break. Awesome. Awesome. These are good questions, y'all. Now, I went ahead, my apologies. I was a little late announcing the giveaway winners from the video chat number 3, but they are posted on the page. If you're watching this in the club page, then it's probably above the video link, but I think I put it either above or beneath where the live chat number 3 is. So 2 of you have won. I think I have it here. In case you have not had a chance to check there, maybe you came here from the link in the email that I sent out. I will tell you who those winners are. I think one was Prudence, and the other one, I think it was Laura Hickman. So you all have won, Prudence Holosky and Laura Hickman. You all won that Modern Medallion workbook that I shared with you in the live chat number 3, okay? So definitely check that out. All right. Oh, Sue says, I'm confused as to how you cut down half square triangles if they're slightly bigger. I have covered that in one of the videos where we do half square triangles, the mystery blocks of the week videos. I can't remember which one right now. If anybody knows, go ahead and let us know there. But I show you how I use the diagonal 45-degree angle on a ruler to line it up to then trim them down. That is a technique because, you know, it's a half square triangle. You have to keep that diagonal running right along, you know, point to point along the diagonal. You can't just hack half an inch off one side. You're going to mess up the whole block. And so I feel like I've done that maybe in at least 2 or 3 of the mystery blocks of the week. Actually, I can see right here. In the hourglass video, block of the week number 4, checking that one because it's made up of half square triangles. And so yeah, I show you how to do that. And then Jesse says in the first half square triangle video, it also has it. And I'll tell you what the first half square triangle video is. It's not the plus sign. It's not the Irish chain. Nope. Yeah, so it's that one, the hourglass. It's block of the week number 4 is where you can find the tips on how to trim up half square triangles if they're a little bit bigger. Okay? Awesome. I'm so glad you all got to tune in. Prudence says, thank you. Oh, good. So now you know. So just, Prudence, go ahead and email us at bea@craftygemini.com and send us your mailing address and then let us know, hey, I won live chat number 3 for the Quilt Club. It's the Modern Medallion workbook. That way they know what to look for in the giveaway piles. The assistants I have that help me ship and stuff, and that way they'll know what to send out to you. Because I do so many giveaways that if they're just like, hi, I want a giveaway, here's my address. They're just like, what prize did these people win? So just let us know what you won. Awesome. Fleur de Linda says, I bought that book because why not? With the skills I'm learning from Vanessa. It's awesome. I mean, I am not a big reader. Like, I don't do fiction. I'm not one of those people. If it's not real or a manual, I need instruction manuals, resource guides, things that are teaching me something practical right as I'm reading it. That's just me. That's why I hated reading as a kid. I went to law school. Don't ask me why. But books like this, quilting books, sewing books, knitting, crochet, stitch guide books, you know, technique books. I love all that stuff. There's nothing like a resource library full of stuff that teaches you skills and techniques, because as you get more advanced and you might be like me. I wake up one day and I'm like, I want to try something new. And I'll just grab a book that I never would have looked at before. And then I'm like, ooh, this looks interesting. And then I try something new. So I think it's totally worth it to have something that's a little more challenging. And of course, books that feature a lot of different designs like that are going to have different levels. So you can always start with one of the easier projects in the book and then work your way up. But I'm glad you got it. That had a lot of cool stuff in there. Bias tape, applique techniques and stuff. Remember we talked about that in that video? If you want to check out a little bit more about it, you can go back to the live chat video number 3. And towards the end of the chat, I did the giveaway and I showed y'all the book. Tanya says, where do you get all the energy to do all these videos? LOL. I admire you so much. Thanks. I sleep about 8 to 10 hours every night because I have to. Otherwise, I won't be as perky as you see me here. And I don't know. I crank it out. I just do a lot during the day, and my husband does a lot of the stuff at home so that I don't have to do grunt work, because then that totally kills the creativity. We know how that goes. It's like, clean the kitchen, or work on a new creative project. I get to work on a new creative project and leave the cleaning the kitchen to him, which is super helpful, right? So that's really how I get it done. Clovis is asking, what is your favorite quilt design? I don't think I really have one. You know, when I look at patterns and stuff, I rarely buy patterns. I mean, I'll buy books that have patterns in them, but it's more for the idea and the techniques of it. But my most favorite quilt that I've made is that has to be that Blue Springs quilt with all the negative space in the background that I did, and I quilted, I designed it and made it. And I think it's probably one of my favorites just because it was like, wow, I can't believe I did this. Good job. Go crafty. So, you know, whenever you surprise yourself, that's always like, for me, like, oh, that's my favorite. Awesome. Mary's asking, how is Brandon's foot? Brandon's getting around with his little boot on, but he's doing better. It's been several weeks now, so, you know, he's still, any chance he gets to sit down and put it up. My husband has a fractured foot, for those that don't know. I guess it was like a lot of little stress fractures that just ended up, I mean, he stood up one day after eating breakfast, and he just stood up from a chair, and it went, and he's like, yeah, I most definitely felt something crack. Right now, he's like, I heard it, and he couldn't put any weight on it. So now he can walk around with the boot. So just got to stay off it. 6-8 weeks, right? You can't really do much with for a fracture like that. Oh, Mary says too, her husband broke a bone in his foot and has a walking boot. Yep, same thing. Same thing for Brandon. All right, y'all. If there's not any more questions, remember to look back or check back on Wednesday. We'll have mystery block of the week number 10. So we have 10, 11, and 12 left. They are going to get bumped up in complexity from here on out. And then we're coming up, I think the following week after that is the improvisational piece curve block. So look forward to trying out that new technique. And then, yeah, so let's do a giveaway. So I'm going to do, again, 2 giveaways. One for somebody who's watching live and the other one for another member that's not watching live. You might be watching the recording of this, or you might just be in the club and can't catch the live chat. So we'll put the names on those. All right. And let me scroll through here. My finger lands on Mary Kowalski. Check out what you won. Modern Quilt Perspectives, another book, and a spool of 100% cotton. This is 50 weight confetti. It's called by Wonderfill. This is my favorite piecing thread. It's like $8 a spool, but I think it's comparable to Aurifil. It's slightly thicker because we know the Aurifil stuff is more like a 60 weight. It's thinner, but it's way better than like the connecting thread stuff and things like that. So it's a neutral gray, which I love for all my piecing. It goes good with light fabrics and dark. And then this one is called Modern Quilt Perspectives, and it's 12 patterns. It says for meaningful quilts, and it's by Thomas. I can't remember if he pronounces his last name Kanar or Nar. I feel like I've heard him say Kanar. I don't know. But I'll show you a couple pictures from here. There's some really bold designs. There's some applique stuff. Let me see. Oh, he has an ampersand one. You can't really, can you see the design there? It's an ampersand like this. Cool. Oh, look at it. What a funky little quilt. So you see how you play with the color value here? The background in this case are darks, but they're all different shades of blues and green. And then the low volume is what pops because of the contrast, which is on the inside. And actually, let me grab the ruby ruler because I think that would be an awesome way, an awesome design to look through. Let me put it in a spot where you can see it. Look at that. So cool. So you see how the darks and the lights totally separate. And George says he has this book, and he says it's pronounced Nar or something. This is a little cute one. The little dots are done in applique. So there are going to be more modern quilts. Look how fun. So look at the blocks. The individual eye blocks themselves, it's like light background, and then the letter I would be dark. Or if it's a dark background, the letter I is light. So cute. Ooh, what a fun rainbow quilt. If you have a lot of scraps in your stash, you can totally sort them out like this. How fun is that? I like that. especially with those solids that are not really solid fabrics, but they read as solids because they're kind of tone on tone or textured. Another great scrappy one. So Mary won this one here for watching live, and then we're gonna do another one with another spool of thread for another Quilt Club member, okay? And so we'll put the names of both of you winners there. Remember to put to email us at bea@craftygemini.com with your mailing address. That's cool. A lot of negative space. Ooh, look at this modern take on this traditional block. Cute. That's fun. When you have quilts like that have a lot of negative space, they're great for practicing free motion quilting. Now, look at this quilt. It's called Cinder Block. You have those rounded squares in there, and look how it works. So they are, you see the corner units that create the curved corners? They're Drunkard's Path blocks. How cool is that? And then you would think, because you have all this space in there, that you have to do some wild free motion quilting, and it's just straight line quilting. Can you see the close-up there? Let me see. Oh, you can barely see it, but there are vertical lines of quilting running on that quilt. So cute. Really, really cute quilt. All right, and then the template pieces are in the back there. So a cool modern quilting book for you, Mary. Thanks for tuning in. Let me see anything else that I missed here. All right. Awesome. All right, good deal. Oh, she's making stuff for her grandbaby number 4 right now. Good deal. All right, everybody. So if no more questions for me, thank you all for tuning in. Check back Wednesday for Mystery Block of the Week number 10. Keep posting pictures of your blocks, of your quilts. Remember, if you want to go ahead and put the quilt tops together, you can. If you want to wait until I get to that, I'll meet you there when we get to those video lessons. And then the next project we're tackling is the improvisational curved piecing, okay? So give it a try. Happy quilting. I hope you get a chance at least this week, once the crazy work week starts, that you can at least, you know, make a block or two here and there, or just take some time out to cut your fabrics before you actually get into it, okay? Thank you all so much. Good night, everybody. I know Liz is saying good night because it's nighttime over there. It's probably like midnight or something in the UK, right? But thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you on Wednesday with another Mystery Block of the Week video.